Sahana Bhavatu Sahanam Punatu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Together we'll chant the first 10 verses of chapter 8.
Om Athashtamodhyayah Arjuna Uvacha Kim tad brahma kimadhyatmam Kim karma purushottama Adhibhutam cha kim proktam Adhidaivam kimuchyate Adhiyajñah katham kotra Dehesmin madhusudana Prayanakale cha katham Nyeyosi niyatatmabhihi Shri Bhagavanuvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodhyatmamuchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaraha Visargah Karma Sanyitaha Adhibhutam Ksharo Bhavaha Purushashchadhidaivatam Adhiyajñohamevatra Dehe deha bhritambara Antakale cha mameva Smaran muktva kalevaram Yah prayati samadbhavam Yati nastyatra samshayah Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam Tyajatyante kalevaram Tam tamevaiti kaunteya Sada tadbhava bhavitaha Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu Mamanusmara yudhyacha Mayyarpita mano buddhihi Mame vaishyasya samshayah Abhyasa yoga yuktena Chetasa nanya-gamina Paramam purusham divyam Yati parthanuchintayan Kavim purana-manushasitaram Anoraniyam samanusmaredyah Sarvasya dhataramachintya rupam Aditya varnam tamasah parastat Prayana kale manasa chalena Bhaktya yukto yoga balena chaiva Dhruvor madhye pranamaveshya samyak Satam param purushamupaiti divyam
Hari Om. So today we start chapter 8 of the Bhagavad Gita. As you are all aware, the Bhagavad Gita is made up of 18 chapters, and these 18 chapters talk about the main theme of the 18 chapters can be summarized in just 3 words. Theme of the summary of the book is Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. You are the Supreme Self. The whole book is only explaining that. So the first 6 chapters explain the Tvam portion, the individual, you and I. First, we have to understand ourselves. We have to understand what we need to be doing over here. Then so actually the whole path, the spiritual path, is actually given to us in the first 6 chapters. The second 6 chapters, which means 7 to 12, talk about that. What is that God? What is that ultimate reality? What is the truth? What is the reality in this world? What is the transcendental? So that, just referred to as that, whatever that is. So 7 to 12 talk about that. And then the last 6 chapters talk about art. What is the relationship between these two? So the whole book is summarized in the famous aphorism, Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. The first 6 chapters talk about Tvam, you, thou, meaning all of us. Second 6 about Tat, which is that unknown thing we have to still find. And finally, the 6 chapters talk about the relationship, the art business. You are that, so that art. What is the relationship? And this is shown by the first and last words of the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita begins with the words Dharma Kshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yuyutsavaha. So the first word of the Bhagavad Gita is the word dharma. Dharma means what is something essential. The first word is dharma, and the last word is mama. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is encapsulated, as it were, between these 2 words, dharma, mama. My dharma. What is my dharma? That is the question that it answers. So what is my dharma? What is dharma to begin with? Dharma means that which is essentially me. What in me makes me me? What is that thing? That is my dharma. The dharma of fire is heat. Because you can have any type of fire. You can have a big fire, a small fire, you can have a conflagration, you can have a jungle fire, you can have a towering inferno, you can have a spark, you can have the fire that lights your gas, you can have beneficial fire, non-beneficial fire, but whatever the fire is, one characteristic of fire is always there. It is hot. That's the dharma of fire. You can't have cold fire. That can't happen because the most essential characteristic is its heat. The dharma of sugar is sweetness. You can have castor sugar, you can have brown sugar, you can have cube sugar, you can have table sugar, you can have all sorts of sugars you can have. But what is that thing that makes sugar sugar? The dharma of sugar is sweetness. Means you can have any type of sugar, but you cannot have bitter sugar. That cannot happen. So, what is the dharma of fire? It is the heat. What is the dharma of sugar? It is the sweetness. What is my dharma? What is it in me, which is so essentially me that it is me? I cannot be that. I cannot be me without that thing. To find the answer to the question is this great text which we are studying, the Bhagavad Gita. What is it? What is that thing which makes me me? So these 6 chapters which we are now studying, and which we are starting number 8 today, talks about what is that unknown thing, what is that thing that makes me me, what's that unknown thing. So in this chapter talks broadly of 4 main ideas in this chapter. The first idea in this chapter is there are 2 things here. There is Brahman, there is the world. And we are fortunate we are studying this chapter because this must be one of the best definitions, indicative definitions of God that you could probably find anywhere. What is that God? What is that unknown thing? So, what is God? What is His creation? What is this creation? What is all this? So, the chapter begins by talking about the God. What is God, and what is the creation? And then brings us to this idea that there are 2 things here, right? There is God, there is Brahman, and there is creation. Now, in this way, do we fit wherever our thoughts are? Our life is going to be exactly what we think. So, this critical piece of information we cannot miss, because we don't even know that with the thoughts that are going in our head, we are actually writing out our future. We ourselves, we're doing this. And every time we meet the consequences of our thoughts, we say, oh my God, how did this happen? What do you mean, how did it happen? You created it. Please understand that. So we're going to study this thing in depth. So the first topic itself, it says there are 2 things. There is Brahman, there is the world, and you get what your thoughts are. Wherever your thoughts go, that's what we get. So where should our thoughts be is the second topic, which talks about how with ever steadfast yoga and meditation, you reach Brahman. Where are these thoughts supposed to be? On what? So that we have the best possible experience of our life. What is that which will give us Shreya, which will be the ultimate good? Then he explains to us what is Brahman beyond the manifest and the unmanifest. And finally comes the last topic, which is the paths of return and non-return. I don't know if you've heard of this Uttarayana, Dakshinayana, all these paths which are spoken of. Traditionally in our society, you will hear all these words thrown around. So here's your chance to understand what they are and what are the relevance of all these things. What do we do if the sun is in northern part and the sun goes into the southern hemisphere? So main kya karun? So let us study what it is that he has to say about these, because you'll hear a lot of stuff said about these things. You can hear what the Lord himself has to say about it. Okay, so this is broadly speaking the chapter. There is Brahman, there is the world. You will get in it whatever you pursue. So how do you pursue Brahman? Then what is Brahman? And finally, what are these 2 paths which are there in this world? The path of return and the path of non-return. Obviously, path of return means you come back to earth, you live the life over and over again. Now don't please take it as, oh my God, now I don't know, I'll come back to earth. What will I come back? Will I come back as a ant or a kida or a human? Or what am I? The point is not all of that. The point, always remember, is where were our thoughts? So we will get the kind of experience that our thoughts create. Many people say, oh, this life is lost. Next janma, I will do this and that. Do you know that you may have exactly the same life next janma if the thoughts have stayed the same? Exactly the same thing. You just go on repeating the same thing over and over again. Just as in this life, I repeated it over and over again, the same experience again and again and again, until that thought in me will change. This is the really important part that we have to know, all of us. Because at least we must know it. We may do something about it or we may not do something about it, but at least we must be able to establish the cause properly, so that whenever you want to do something about it, you know what you have to attend to. Okay, so this is what broadly the chapter is about. Um, we will read to the first and second verses together. Arjuna Uvacha Kim Tad Brahma Kimadhyatmam Kim Karma Purushottama Adhibhutam Cha Kim Proktam Adhidaivam Kimuchyate Adhiyajna Katham Kotra Dehesmin Madhusudana Prayana-kalepi cha katham neyosi niyatatmabhihi Arjuna uvacha kim tad brahma kimadhyatmam kim karma purushottama adhibhutam cha kim proktam adhidaivam kimuchyate Adhiyajna katham kotra dehesmin madhusudana prayana kale cha katham neyosi niyatatmabhihi. The Bhagavad Gita, as you know, is a conversation between Arjuna and Sri Krishna. And many chapters begin with Krishna talking himself. Some chapters begin with Arjuna asking a question. If you remember, in the last chapter, he ended with Adhibhuta, Adhiyagnya, with Prayana Kale. At the time of death, you will know me. So he ended with many concepts, which we didn't go into in great depth last time, because even Arjuna didn't know what he was talking about. So he's asking him, Kim tad Brahma? What is that Brahma you just spoke about? Kim Adhyatma? What is Adhyatma? Kim Karma? What is Karma? O Purushottama, O best of the Purusha, best of the created beings, please tell me, what is all this? What is this Brahman? What is Adhyatma? What is Karma? Adhibhutam cha kim proktam? What is that which is called Adhibhutam? Adhidaivam kimuchyate. What is called Adhidaivam? Adhiyagnya katham kotra. How is Adhiyagnya? Dehesmin Madhusudana. In this Asmin Dehe Madhusudana, O Madhusudana, in this Dehe, how is the Adhiyagnya? What is it? Prayana Kale Chakatham Neosi Nyatatma Bihi. Those who are Nyatatma Bihi means जिसने अपने आप को नियंत्रण में रखा, those people who have controlled themselves, prayana kale means at that final point, katham neyo, how are they going to know you? How are you supposed to be known? So, he ended with all these ideas. Krishna ended the last chapter with all these ideas. So Arjuna is saying, what is all this stuff? He's obviously already heard these words before, just as you may have heard these words before. You've heard this word adhyatma. You've heard of these words adibhuta, adideva, adiyagnya. You've heard of self-control. You've heard that there is a prayana kale, there's a last moment in which something is supposed to happen. So just as if you were to meet somebody educated in these terms, and then you'd say, oh, what do all these terms actually mean? Exactly like that, Arjuna is saying, what is all this supposed to even mean? Please tell me. So here he says, proktam. Proktam means said. So when you talk about said, this sounds like such an innocuous word, but it's a very important word in our tradition. Why this word is so important is, what does it mean said? Refers to it being a traditional knowledge. And the greatness of it being a traditional knowledge is that it has come down to us from 5,000-10,000 years. Can you even believe this is possible? And it has come down in its pristine form. It's not like there have been changes along the way. And how do you know that there weren't changes along the way? Because you can easily argue that who knows in 10,000 years what they changed. There weren't changes, and we know there weren't changes because the oral tradition is bound by a million rules. I mean, when I say million, I literally mean a million, because you have to say it in a particular way. Even how long you chant a letter, like that's also written. It's not left to your own discrimination as to how you want to chant it. So take this first word over here, Kim. So this word is broken down into matras. For those who have studied Sanskrit, you will understand what I mean. There is ka, which is the original letter, ka halant, which is half a matra. Then there is the small e, which is one matra, and there is the ma halant, which is again half a matra. So you can't say Kim in any other way but using two matras. Half plus one plus half, to say it in exactly that same way. So it's all so written and so bound in rules that it's really not possible to change it. And keeping those rules was considered a religious duty, so they've been maintained. The Vedas have been maintained, the Gita has been maintained, the Shruti Pramana has been completely maintained for us. Luckily, thank God for that. Otherwise, we'd have missed this great knowledge. So proktam means it has been said. This is traditional knowledge. This is not one person getting up and saying something to us. This is knowledge that has come distilled down to us from 10,000 years, 10,000 years of the best intellects thinking about this knowledge, realizing that it is true, and passing it down to the next generation. And that's how it's come to us. It's an amazing thing. So this proktam is very, very important in our tradition because it shows that this is a traditional knowledge. It is not one person's idea. It is not even 10 people's idea. It is the ideas that have come down the ages. So it is a traditional knowledge. That's why it says proktam. It has been said. This is how it has been said in our country from time immemorial. Now, you can see that the chapter begins with a question. Question is the great tradition of Vedanta. Philosophical knowledge is imbibed only. In fact, any knowledge is imbibed only through reflection. And when we think about these things and think, then questions come to us. It is those questions which are an opportunity for digesting the knowledge, converting the old ways into new ways. So questions are considered very important. The Bhagavad Gita is question answer, Upanishad is question answers. This is the tradition. Everything is question answer. Shankaracharya re-established Vedanta not by the sword, not by bribing people, not by giving something of what will happen in heaven. How did he re-establish Vedanta? He did it through Khandan Manan. Khandan Manan is discussion, debate, all the vada that he undertook, all the logic, the discussion based on reasonable grounds. That is how Vedanta is. Nobody in Vedanta has ever forced it down somebody's throat. It's just not the way it is done. In fact, we say that knowledge is always taken, it's never given. So we may make no attempt to make people convert to our point of view, but we are available for any rational discussion at any point. So, so you see, even here, he begins with a question. He's talking to the Lord himself, and he has the right to ask, "What did you just say? Because none of it was clear to me." And that shows the interest of the student in knowing. Suppose he's not asking the question, that just means that he's not paying attention. Jo hai theek hai, acha hai. That's not the attitude of a good student. So sometimes the teacher just sort of pushes something in the middle to see whether anybody will question that. And just as Krishna put it all in, suddenly put on all these strange terms, and then you see now, is Arjuna asking a question or he's not even paying attention. So obviously Arjuna is at least paying attention. He may not be getting it, but he's at least paying attention. So that is good for the teacher to know that you have at least heard it. So then what? So let's understand what are these various terms. What is that Brahman? What is Adhyatma? And what is Karma? Now, here is a way, he's of course going to explain all these terms to us. I'm just doing a brief summary now. Brahman is the ultimate truth, the ultimate reality, what some people call God, what the Mohammedans would call Allah, and the Christians would call Father in Heaven. The Zaratrustrians would call him Ahura Mazda. Different Vaishnavites call it Vishnu, Shaivites call it Shiva. The Bhaktas of Kali will refer to it as Kali. Whatever name you give it, the intellectuals would like to refer to it as the ultimate truth or the transcendental reality. Whatever name you choose to call it, that ultimate truth is used, that word used in Vedanta is Brahman. Okay, so that ultimate truth is Brahman. Now, what is Adhyatma? Adhyatma and Brahman are exactly the same thing. The self in me is the ultimate self. So it is no different. Brahman and Adhyatma are synonymous terms. We have been using the word Atman. So Brahman and Atman, in the way we have been using the word so far, for those who have followed for some time, we use the word Atman. So Atman is used here as Adhyatma. Atman is Brahman. There is no difference between Atman and Brahman. When you refer to the whole, you refer to it as Brahman. But when you refer to that same thing within yourself, then you refer to it as Atman. There is no difference between Brahman and Atman. Whatever is the all-pervading truth, whatever is the all-pervading reality is as much in me as it is in any other thing in this universe. So when I'm speaking to anything, speaking about it in its full form, all over the universe, everywhere, then I use the word Brahman. But when I'm speaking of exactly the same thing within me, then I use the word Atman. But there is no difference. Just as when I'm speaking about all space, so I say space. When I'm speaking about the space in this room, then I will say this room space. So there's total space outside, and there is room space in the room. But there's no difference between the room space and the outside space. It's all the same. The walls of the room have not cut space. There is no division in space. It is the same all-pervading space everywhere. So Brahman and Adhyatma, or Atman as we have been using it so far, Brahman and Atman are exactly the same. So what is Brahman? What is Adhyatma? They are both the same. What is karma? Karma refers to the manifestation. Coming to all of that later. Karma literally means action. What is adhibhuta? Adhibhuta is referred to as the elements. So the elements that make up this personality are referred to as adhibhuta. In other words, it is the matter component in us. What is Adidaiva? Adidaiva is the individual. Come to it, don't worry, please. This is just the first verse. So don't worry about it. Don't be itching to ask right now. We're going to study it all. Just doing it. What is Adhyagnya here in the body? Adhyagnya is exactly the same as Brahman. And how are you to be known at the time of death by the self-control? That we're going to study. Okay, so now you probably not got any of these terms because I've gone pretty fast. But please remember one thing. Do we have that chart? Who has that chart? Can you put that chart on the screen? Remember this chart. If you can remember this chart, this chapter will be easy for you. If you forget this, This chapter will prove to be difficult. The chart is very simple. All it says is spirit plus matter is equal to the individual. Okay, just take a screenshot, take a picture of this, keep track of this thing, and then the whole thing is going to be quite easy. Spirit plus matter is equal to the individual. So what are the words for spirit? Adhyatma, adhyagnya. These are the words he's using. What is the word for matter? Adhibhutam. And what is the word for the individual? Adhidaivatam. Okay, so if you get this much, then you will understand the whole picture. If you lose track of this, then it'll be a struggle. So just please keep this much in mind. Please note it down, take a screenshot, take a picture, because we're going to now talk on it on the assumption that you know this thing. So you and I are the individual. Each one of us is made up of spirit and matter. You and I are the individual. Each one of us is made up of spirit and matter. There are two elements in us. There is this body, mind, intellect, which is our matter element, and there is the Atman within us, which is the spirit element. Every one of us is like that. So, just as, take the example of a bulb. In a bulb, there are two elements. Two elements means two parts. One is the bulb itself. Two is the electricity. Now, when these two combine, what we get is light. When the bulb and the electricity combine, what we get is light. Similarly, when spirit and matter combine, what we get is the individual. That's you and I. So, can you tell me, can anyone tell me who is the individual? Somebody, quickly tell me, who is the individual?
Spirit plus matter.
Who is the individual? Not what. Who is the individual? Rajita, who is the individual?
Shilpa is individual.
We are individuals.
We,
We.
all
Who is
living
the
beings.
individual?
All living beings.
Okay. Shilpa, who is the individual?
Shilpa is an individual.
Very good. Priya, who is the individual?
The spirit.
Arjuna is the individual. Arjuna.
Okay, Arjuna. Where's Priya? What happened to her? I saw her name. Priya Ahuja. Who is the individual? What happened to you, Priya? Anita, who is the individual?
I am the individual.
Wrong. Anita, who is the individual?
Okay, Anita is the individual.
Ah, very good. Rujita, who is the individual? Your
Rujita is an individual.
very good. Rujita is the individual. Now, what is this individual made up of? Nima, what is the individual made up of?
It's made up of spirit and matter.
Is made up of spirit and matter. Elsie, who are you?
Spirit and matter.
LC.
No, Rujita. Rujita is spirit and matter. What Elsie, who are you?
LC.
Janki ji, body, mind, intellect?
No. Elsie, who are you?
LC made up of spirit and intellect.
No, I didn't ask you
spirit and
what you're made
matter.
up of. I asked you, who are you?
Individual.
Individual.
No.
Individual.
No.
Only the spirit.
Anuja, who are you?
Only the spirit. Atma.
Correct. I am the spirit.
I am the spirit.
I am the spirit. I am Atman. Okay, get this clear. Are you all clear? Amrita, who is the individual? Amrita, who is the individual?
Amrita is the individual.
Very good. Who are you?
I am the spirit.
Very good. I am Atman. Okay, got it? The individual. Janki is the individual, but I am the Atman. We have to be clear about this concept. When he's talking about God, when he's talking about Atman, he's talking about me. He's not talking about something out there. He's talking about me. And that's what I have to get. And if I can get that understanding, you've got Advaita. It's that simple. So the individual, Nima, Anita, Anuja, Bharat, Binu, all of these are the individual. But who are they? Who is that person? That person, not that person. That person is the individual. But who is that? That is the self, that is the Atman, that is the reality, that is God. Okay? So the Adi Yagna is who you are. Adi Daiva is what you believe you are. Adi Yagna is what you are. Adi Daiva is what you believe you are. So you have to move. I have to move. We all have to move from understanding ourselves as Adi Daiva to understanding ourselves as the Adi Yagna. We have to move our concept from the individual to the Atman within. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Has anyone got any problem up to this point? This is just the basis, okay? And then we'll go into what he is saying. Has anyone got any problem so far? All good?
Janki ji, this is Shiva here. Actually, it's not clear to me why Adi Yagna is the self. Adi Yagna is not an action of sorts, actually.
No, why are you thinking it's an action?
I
Adi
guess,
Yagna means above.
okay, I see. Okay,
Above Yagna. Yagna is, okay, maybe you're taking Yagna as action.
Yeah, literally.
Okay, so Yagna is the purest form of action, and what is higher than the purest form of action is Brahman.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so now let's see what all is going on in the chat. Has anyone asked? Oops. Any questions?
Hari Om Janki ji.
Hari Om.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Here it is written spirit plus matter is individual. And just now we came to the conclusion that I is an individual. So
No,
matter.
I is not the individual. You. Okay. Who are you? Who is Shilpa?
Yeah. So Shilpa is spirit plus matter.
So Shilpa is the individual.
Okay.
Okay, but who are you?
I am spirit, right?
That's right.
So okay.
So you're thinking yourself to be Shilpa.
Yeah.
That's your misunderstanding. But actually you are Atman.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so Rujata says, if we are all spirit, then why are we all so different from each other? So who can answer that question? If we are all spirit, why are we all so different from each other?
Janki ji, the vasanas that we have within us?
Yes, correct. So
matter is different.
Matter is different.
The proportion of matter is different.
Very good. So Rujata, if you see it, every individual is different because every individual has got different matter component. Okay, so one is a saint, one is a sinner, one is very smart, one is very dumb, one is fat, one is thin, one is tall, one is short, whatever, this, all the differences. Because the matter element is different. But the spirit element, the Atman within, is the same in all. Okay, so we are all spirit, means the Atman. As far as Atman is concerned, we are all exactly the same, but our matter element, body, mind, and intellect differs.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Anyone else has a question? Deepak Punwani. Would it be correct to say that all matter in this world is a construct of our thoughts? Would it be correct to say that all matter in this world is a construct of our thoughts? It all depends, Deepak, on what you mean by the word construct. If I were to take it to mean that all this matter is created by our thoughts, then that would not be correct. Because the experience is always a combination of the subject and the object. The object is not created by our thoughts. This is an idealistic way of looking at it. As you know, there are two popular philosophies, idealism and realism. Realism says all the objects in the world are real and they are there as they are. And idealism says that only thoughts are real, all the thoughts create the world. So idealism is not correct. Realism is not correct either, but idealism is not correct, which is that our thoughts create the world. So if you're taking it to mean that, if that's what you mean by construct, then that's not correct. If by construct you say, if you are meaning that your entire experience is the result of your thoughts, then that would be correct. So it depends on how you're using the words really. So basically, no. If the question is, have your thoughts created the world? No, your thoughts are part of the world. A part of the world cannot create the world. Is that okay, Deepak? You have anything?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Anything else before we proceed? Okay. So let us then go and study something.
Janki, I have a mathematical question.
Yeah, go ahead, Omkar.
So, spirit plus matter is individual, which means that spirit is individual minus matter.
That's right.
Then, matter is individual minus spirit.
That's right.
But if spirit is all pervasive, nothing can exist without spirit, how can there be something which is minus spirit?
The mathematical equation doesn't go into whether it exists or not. It only goes into what happens if you, it only says this is the relationship. The equation doesn't talk about whether it exists or not. That is not part of maths, Omkar.
I didn't get that. What does not exist?
Whether you can have any one of these individually is not a matter of the mathematical construct. The mathematical construct is correct, that individual, okay, minus spirit is equal to matter, and individual minus spirit is equal to individual minus matter is equal to spirit. The equation holds. Now, whether any of these are possibilities or not is not part of a mathematical equation. This is correct. The construct of the equation is correct.
Not sure if I understood, but I'll give it a thought.
Okay. When you say that, is this right? Spirit is equal to individual minus matter. Yes, it is correct. Is this correct that individual is equal to, no, sorry, what did you say? Individual minus spirit is matter, individual minus matter is spirit. Are these things correct? Okay, so yes, they're all correct because the equation holds good. But whether you can have a situation of no matter or a situation of no spirit, that's not within the purview of an equation.
No, okay, maybe, okay. So matter is equal to individual minus spirit is also, does that also hold?
Yes, all of it will hold.
However, we still believe that nothing exists without spirit because
Yes,
it is
that's
all
correct.
pervasive.
Correct.
So how does the equation hold? Because you are having an individual without spirit.
You're having an individual
which is
what?
matter. Individual is equal, matter is equal to individual minus spirit.
Yes. So if from the
Which is
individual,
matter.
yeah, you remove the spirit element, what remains is the matter. Correct.
Okay.
So Tinky says individual minus spirit is a body. No, Tinky, that's not correct. Individual minus spirit is matter, not body. Because you have not just body as matter, you have mind, intellect, you have matters composed of other things as well. So you can't say it's body. Individual minus spirit is matter. Dead body. Varsha, why are you going to dead body? Dead body is that matter? No, it's not only matter. Dead body is matter plus spirit, just as everything else is. Like every table, like every chair, like every whatever book, everything is the matter plus the spirit. But in the case of the dead body, or in the case of any inert object, a certain part of the matter is missing, and therefore it is dead or inert. The mind and intellect are missing, and therefore it becomes what you call dead or inert. Okay, Varsha. Reshma says, so spirit is body, mind, and intellect. What? No, Reshma? Yeah, matter, correct. Matter is body, mind, and intellect, correct. Thought is part of matter. Anshu, yes, thought is very much part of matter. Matter is defined in philosophy as anything other than the self. So therefore, matter, thought is matter. Philosophically, in matter comes thoughts as well. Isn't there an equation for adhiyagnya? Aditi, the adhiyagnya portion is just a synonym for spirit and adhyatma. That's why it's put under it. So this equation is on this chart is only giving us the various synonyms. So another word for spirit is adhyatma, adhiyagnya, Brahman, Atman. These are all synonyms for spirit. Synonyms for matter are adibhutam, and whatever, body, mind, intellect, whatever. All of these will be synonyms for matter. And synonyms for the individual will be adidaivatam, aditi. All of these are synonyms for individual. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, so now shall we go on to what is probably the most difficult verse in this chapter? Right, but please be clear on all this before we proceed. Okay, so now
Hariom Di.
Hariom Sangeeta.
Hariom Di.
Hariom.
Like I'm taking Omkarji's question a little forward. They say Jad and Chetan. So is the Jad matter kind of a material that God uses to make the individual or the whole world, whatever there is in this world? And Chetan is the spirit that he instills?
No. God is the spirit, matter is the Jad, and Chetan is the individual.
Chetan is the individual, okay.
Yes.
Chetan is not the soul. Chetan is not the spirit. Okay, yeah.
Okay, don't worry about it. We will study. You don't have to just swallow whatever you are being told. Think about it. The Chetan is something that is alive. Let's put another formula over here. Electricity plus bulb is equal to light. So that light is Chetan. The bulb is matter. Yeah, the bulb is the matter. And spirit is the electricity.
Electricity is the spirit. Okay, fine.
So
yeah.
electricity plus bulb is equal to light, which is the manifestation. So the life manifestation is the combination of a particular type of matter and spirit. For instance, take the same example of electricity. If electricity functions through an air conditioner, you won't get light. You get cool air, right? So as the matter changes, the Chetan changes.
Okay. And body, mind, intellect will fall in which these things? Chetan
Sorry?
or?
No, intellect is matter. Body, mind, intellect
would
is
be
all.
Jada or Chetan?
Body,
Actually,
mind,
it is matter.
intellect, all Jad.
Jad. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All matter.
Okay. Thank you.
Manisha. Manisha says, so Adhibhutam and matter are the same. Yes, Adhibhutam and matter are the same. If you see the line, spirit, Adhyatma, Adhyagnya, all the same. Matter, Adhibhutam, same. Individual, Adhidaivatam, same.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, let us do the famous verse 3, which is, I suppose, the crux of it all. Most difficult also, easiest also, and the crux of it all. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavodhyatmamochyate Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaraha Visarga Karma Samnitaha Shri Bhagavanuvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavodhyatmamochyate Bhutabhavoddhavakaraha Visarga Karma Samnitaha. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the Blessed Lord said, Aksharam Brahma Paramam. What is Brahman? What? He's answering the first question. Kim Brahman? What is Brahman? Aksharam Brahma Paramam. This we should all know by heart. Aksharam Brahma Paramam. What has he defined to be the Lord? What is Brahman? He has given us two things as his definition, the most fabulous definition you'll probably find. Two qualities, Aksharam, Paramam. Aksharam, Sharam, the perishable, Aksharam, the imperishable. Paramam, supreme. So what is that thing in this world which never perishes, which never changes, which nothing makes any difference? Earlier in the Gita, excuse me, earlier in the Gita, he had spoken about how water cannot wet it, and wind cannot dry it, how weapons cannot cleave it. Nothing in this world can affect it in any way or manner. Aksharam. Not affected by anything you do. Not by the elements, not by the mind, not by the intellect, not by prayers, not by devotion, not by knowledge. Aksharam Brahma Paramam. That unchangeable, ever the same. The Aksharam. That is what Brahman is. Ever the same. Aksharam. Does not change in any way or manner. Now, what we have to get in this is who is Brahman? Who are we when we're talking about this? When we're talking about Brahman, who are we talking about? Can you tell me, anybody? Who are we talking about?
Us.
Don't say us, Bharat. Say
Unknown. Unknown.
Me. I.
Unknown.
I.
talking about myself. Okay, so
Source.
correct, Ashia. Talking about me. Don't say there's a God somewhere about who he has defined. He has defined who you and I are. Akshara Brahma Paramam. Remember, I, correct Anshu, I, it's speaking about I, it's speaking about me. I am that imperishable. I am that unchanging. I am the supreme. When you see it like that, then it begins to hit you. What is he talking about? Me, supreme? What does he even mean? Obviously, I'm not supreme. My body is not supreme. My mind is not supreme. My intellect is not supreme. Then how am I supreme? The other thing. That is what I really am. The supreme self within each one of us. The unchanging, the supreme. Swabhava, Dhyatma, Swabhava, Adhyatma, Uchate. Its own Swabhava, its own being is Adhyatma, is Atman. That same Brahman which we are worshipping, its own being is the Atman. Like we discussed, there is no difference between total space and room space. It's the same space, undivided. Similarly, there is no difference between total Brahman and the Atman within. It's an all-pervading thing. There is no difference. It's not little more Atman in me and little less Atman in you. The sinner has less Atman and the saint has more Atman. There is no such thing. It's the same homogeneous, all-pervading entity. So he says, Brahman is the imperishable, the supreme. His own being is called Adhyatma or Atman, the inner self. The creative force that causes the birth of beings is called karma. So karma is the creative, karma means action. Action is referred to as the creative force that causes the birth of beings. In other words, how is it that this world comes about? How does this creation come about? So think of it. There's some nice examples to understand this idea, but it's obviously not an easy idea to grasp. So if you and I and the whole world is Brahman, then where is this creation coming about from? So think of it like this. A painter has a creative urge. A painter is not always painting. If you invite your painter over for a meal, he won't start painting things in your house. But he has that creative urge. And when he identifies with the creative urge, what comes out of it is his creation, the painting. In other words, because of the nature of Brahman itself, there is a potential for creation. Just a potential. When there is an identification with that potential, what comes about is creation. But I think let's study this in a little more depth next time. Shilpa says, if spirit does not have intelligence, then when we take another body, we are born with vasanas without intelligence, right? No, that's not correct, Shilpa. When you're born with vasanas, the vasanas themselves manifest as the intellect, body, and mind. Body, mind, and intellect is nothing but a manifestation of vasanas. So since we have the vasanas, they manifest as a thought, that's your intellect, then manifest as a desire, which is your mind, and then manifest as an action, which is the body. So the body, mind, intellect is a what? Manifestation of the vasanas.
Thank you, Janki.
Manisha, can you also explain this equation in terms of pure consciousness and individual consciousness? Okay, so pure consciousness is another word for Brahman. Individual consciousness is another word for Atman. So Brahman, Atman being exactly the same. Spirit is the same as pure consciousness as well as individual consciousness. Okay, so here you have spirit. Under it you write in pure consciousness, and same under it you can write individual consciousness. Okay, Manisha?
Yes, you
Unless
said
by individual
under spirit, I will write
you
pure
write consciousness.
consciousness. And
That's right.
under individual, that is individual consciousness.
No.
Is that so?
Consciousness is always spirit.
Okay.
Individual consciousness is called Atman, and total consciousness is called Brahman. And there's no division between these two.
Okay. So Brahman is pure consciousness and Atman is individual consciousness.
And is the same as pure consciousness. There's no difference.
Okay. Thank you, Janki.
Janki, is it correct to say that me is also me in Janki ji, the same me?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, okay.
It's all pervading, right? So it's the same I everywhere.
Okay.
Amrita Dalal, is there some way to learn Sanskrit, the verses and pronunciation? Amrita, you can, if you just want verses and pronunciation, you can get the chanting from the academy, the same chanting that the team plays over here, and practice with that. If you want to learn Sanskrit itself, then you can come and join the Sanskrit class.
Oh, how do I do that, Janki ji? The Sanskrit class? I'll check with
Bharat
yeah,
will give you
Bharat, yeah.
Mitali's number, and she's the coordinator for the Sanskrit class.
Oh, okay. But it's ongoing. I'd be able to join it. It's just,
I think so. Yeah, let's see how
Okay.
much you know and all. We'll figure it out in the class.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Janki ji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Janki ji.
Hari Om, Janki ji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Janki ji. Thank you.
Thank you. Hari Om Janki.
Hari Om, Janki ji. Hari Om.
Thank you so much.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Oh, today's class was beyond me.
Oh dear. Ask your question next time, Marsh.
No, it was. I'll give it another try next time. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Di, thank you so much.
Hari Om.
Thank you very much, Janki ji.
Thank you, Janki ji.
Hari Om, Janki ji.
Hari Om.
Can anybody join the Sanskrit class, Di?
Yes, anyone can join it.
Okay. Thank you.